Hey, this is Evan with Simple Sale, Central Florida. Wanted to have a Q&A. We're trying to do these every few weeks now to just answer some questions that we've seen and questions that were asked by clients that we work with. We have 10 or so questions. We're just going to run through them, and then at the end, if there is any more questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Here we go. The first question, very, very common. How do I know if my home is distressed? Distress doesn't just mean that you're in foreclosure. It can mean that you have excessive repairs on the property, that maybe it has excessive code violations, that you owe on taxes. It could be excessive repairs. There's many different instances. It could even be that you just need to sell your house as soon as possible. Typically, those are the types of situations that we work with. And if you're not really in one of those types of situations, Simple Sales, Central Florida will typically not be a good fit. More of a traditional route with a realtor, which we also do that as well. It's just a different avenue for selling your home. So can I sell my home if there is a judgment on it? So yes and no. You can definitely enter into the selling process. You can sign a contract. But when that judgment shows up on title, you'll have to take care of that judgment, whatever it may be. If it's a judgment for you owing money on a fine or something of that matter, that will have to be paid at closing or before closing in order to be able to close on the property. So if the judgment isn't taken care of, typically you're not going to be able to close on the property. You're going to have to sell it subject to the judgment. That's in almost all scenarios. We will not buy a property like that, but we will help you take care of the judgment before the close and make sure that the close goes smoothly. So another one, I don't know if I own the title to my home. Can I still sell it? So in those types of situations, which we come across, what we would do is enter into a contract on the property and then run a title search. And in that title search, which comes back in a day or two, will tell us if you actually own the home or if someone else owns the home that you don't know, or that maybe a family member that you don't actually know of. And even in those situations, we just closed on a property last week that the lady that was selling the property had multiple other people on title, and she had no idea. But we still took care of it and got found the solution, and everyone walked away happy. So yes, you can still sell it as long as we solve the whatever title issues there may be on the property. So I wouldn't let possible title issues keep you from entering into the selling process. I would continue to move forward and then address any issues that come up. Next question. So this is an interesting one. My sister and I both inherited our parents' home. I want to sell it, but she doesn't. What can I do? So currently there's a property that we're working on in which there are 7 people that own a home, and a couple of them don't want to sell it. So there's always a way to get the property sold, but you really want everyone to be on the same page. But if it's you have no choice and you need to sell it as soon as possible, there's things like partition sales, which means you would go to a judge and say, I own one half, she owns one half. She doesn't want to sell, but I do. She's not talking with me about it. She won't buy my half out. I want to move forward with the sale. And if the judge approves it, which it's a very long process, probably at least 6 months, if he approves it, you'll move forward on the sale of the property. But I would highly recommend not going that route. There's always a solution for everybody. If there are differences or whatever it may be, you can figure out those differences. In most every scenario that we've seen, there's always a solution to if there's some kind of relationship problems. There's always a way to work out those problems and move forward where you don't really need to get into litigation. Okay, so I inherited a home from a hoarder and don't even know where to start. So depending upon the situation, how involved do you want to get with the property? If it's not an emotional event for you, I would highly suggest just selling the property and just selling it to a distressed home buyer. But if it is an emotional event, whoever, if it's just you or various people get together and maybe you want to actually, go through some of the stuff, that valuables of sorts. Definitely if it was someone very close to you, I wouldn't recommend just selling it immediately because you're probably going to have seller's remorse. Because there are a lot of emotions involved, especially if it's a parent. But if it has no ties to you, I honestly would just sell it to a distressed home buyer that's experienced and things like that, and try not to worry about it too much. So it really just depends upon whatever your situation may be, is how I would really approach it. Here's a good one. Can I do anything if my home is going to be foreclosed on in the next 2 weeks? You absolutely can. So in those types of situations, if, for example, you approach Simple Sales Central Florida and said, I'm foreclosing in a couple weeks, what we would do is get a contract, and then we would end up filing that with a judge saying that the property is being sold, and that would hold off the sale until the closing of the property. A lot of people don't know that you can do that up until just a couple of days before. Typically, if you can get it filed, showing that you're selling it, the judge will typically push back that foreclosure auction to where you can close on the property and you don't have to worry about it. There's also other options. You can file for bankruptcy. I've seen that a lot, where someone doesn't want to get rid of the house. They need to, but they really don't want to, and they can file. Filing for bankruptcy will put off the foreclosure as well. It really depends upon your situation, but there are multiple options that you can choose that will keep off the foreclosure. But I would suggest not doing something just to delay the inevitable, where I've seen that where people will file for bankruptcy and not actually go into bankruptcy. And then now you have a judge that isn't very happy with you because you didn't perform on what you said you were going to. So yes, absolutely, you can sell it, which would hold off the foreclosure and you wouldn't lose it at auction, or you can file for bankruptcy. There may be even other options, but nothing else that I'm aware of. There was some unpermitted work done on our house. Can we still sell it? Yeah, you can absolutely sell it. Typically, it's going to be difficult to get a mortgage on a property with unpermitted work. So it depends upon how obvious that unpermitted work is. If it's something very minor, probably no one's going to notice. But if it's a whole addition to a house, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to get a mortgage on it moving forward. So you would typically have to sell it to a cash buyer, someone who's going to pay cash for the property and take on the risk of that unpermitted work, and then bringing, taking out a permit and then getting the work approved. But you can absolutely still sell it. A lot of people don't know that, that you can take a property that the county may not know that, or the city may not know that half the property exists, but and you're afraid of them finding out, you can just sell it to someone for cash and then let them deal with it as well. We've dealt with situations like that. This one is becoming more and more common nowadays with everything going on. What if there are tenants in the house? Can I still sell it? So over the last month or so, maybe a couple months, we've had some situations where we bought properties that do have tenants in them, or squatters, people that may have never paid rent to begin with. And in those types of situations, you can absolutely still sell them. You really don't have to do anything with the tenants. Just let the buyer figure out the situation with them. I know in a situation in Tampa back, I think we closed a couple months ago, the property had, I think at the time of closing, like 6 squatters in the house, and they were not tenants. They were kind of like hanging out with the previous tenant, and the previous tenant moved out, and they just decided to stay. And the seller just wanted to get out of the situation because they were taking advantage of her. So we bought the property, and we worked with the squatters, and everyone walked away without any litigation. So yeah, you can absolutely sell the property and let the buyer deal with it. This is a really good one. So, do you buy mobile homes? That's a very common question. So we do not just buy mobile homes. We only buy mobile homes if there's deeded land attached. So that means you own the land under the mobile home. If you don't own the land under the mobile home, we really are not interested in buying those. There's probably someone out there that would, but it's not what our company does. So if you have a mobile home that's distressed and it does have land under it, we are interested in looking at it. But as far as just a mobile home where we'd have to haul the mobile home off from a lot or pay the lot fee, we're not really interested in that, in taking that on. So, do you buy land with code violations or liens? Yes, we do. We've had situations where we've worked with people to try to take care of code violations and liens on empty lots, where there were significant liens and code violations. There were so many that we couldn't actually get it figured out before the sale. I think they actually sold. But we absolutely do. Land is a similar asset to a home, and it does have value, and you can sell it to someone. Typically, it's going to be someone that will buy for cash, that wants to then build on it. But we will absolutely work with you on empty lots or even acreage of land. with code violations or liens. Here's something that we deal with every once in a while. Will you work with me if I already have a realtor? So quite often, when someone has a realtor, they will end up reaching out and wanting to discuss their property, and then I find out in the process that they have a realtor that they're obligated to pay a commission to. So we will, but if you already have a realtor, more than likely you're not in a distressed property situation. And in those situations, if you're looking for someone to buy your house and you have a realtor when that's their job, they should be reaching out because they're earning their commission. I would seriously consider finding another realtor, but we will absolutely work with them. Without a doubt, we have worked with people who have realtors in the past and had good experiences. So that's definitely not a deterrent at all on our end. So I think that was 12 or 13 questions there. Really want to see if anybody on stream has any questions at all. I don't think I see any, but if you do, now's the time. If not, I think that kind of concludes our Q&A. And like I said, we're now doing this every few weeks. So we'll be back in a few weeks with some more interesting questions. We'll try to mix it up a little bit more next time. And also, I meant to say, we're available through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through our website, of course, simplesellcentralflorida.com. So we're always, when we have a chat on simplesellcentralflorida.com. So we're always available to talk about any distressed home issues you have, or if you have a family member, or if you're a realtor, we now have a place for you to submit clients. So there's plenty of ways to reach out to us. Like I said, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the website, in which, if you have questions, feel free to ask. I would say a decent percentage of people that come to us, they're not looking to sell. They're just looking to have a discussion and see if they want to sell or need to sell. And we're absolutely happy to answer those questions for you. So I think that's it. Appreciate you all for coming on. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.